right, today we're going to learn lesson 3.4 of the distributive property. So our learning target for today is I can simplify expressions using the distributive property. Okay, so first let's talk about what is the distributive property. The distributive property means to multiply a sum or difference, add or subtract, by a number. You multiply each number in the sum or difference by the number outside the parentheses, and then you would solve it. Okay, so some of us have done the distributive property in elementary school, but they might not have even called it that. So it's when we multiply the number outside the parenthesis by each number inside. So we would do 3 times 7, and then we would add, because inside the parentheses we're adding, 3 times 2. So we'd have 3 times 7 is 21, plus 3 times 2 is 6. So we'd have 21 plus 6, which equals 27. Same thing with subtract. We'd do 3 times 7, but then we would subtract the answers since there's a subtraction sign inside the parentheses. Okay, so like I said, you might have done this in elementary school by them asking you to use mental math to find 8 times 53. So in the past, you may have done 8 times 50 plus 8 times 3. You just broke that 53 up into 50 and 3. And from here you did 8 times 50, which you said was 400, hopefully. And then 8 times 3, which is 24, and you would add them together to get the answer of 424. Okay, so you've done the distributive property, hopefully, in elementary school already. They just maybe didn't write it like this or didn't call it this. But it's kind of the same idea. Okay, and I'm going to prove to you that it means the exact same thing. All right, so first let's solve this using the distributive property. I like to do my little distribute arrows because those are so important to make sure that we don't accidentally do like 5 times 10 is 50 and then just do a plus 3. Okay, we need to distribute that 5 being multiplied to both of the numbers inside the parentheses. So it's 5 times 10, which is 50, plus, because we have an addition sign in our problem, in our parentheses, then 5 times 3, which is 15. 50 plus 15, 65. Okay, now let's solve it using Pemdas. Okay, so if we had 5 times 10 plus 3, we would do 5 times 13. 5 times 13 is 65. Those are the same thing. Okay, so we're getting the same exact answer, just a different way. The reason why we need to learn this is because it simplifies expressions when we don't have numbers inside we can add. For example, when we have an n and a 5 and a plus 5, we can't combine those. Those are unlike terms. We cannot simplify n plus 5 any farther. Okay, but we can simplify this expression by distributing that 4. Remember, a 4 next to a parenthesis always means times. A number next to a parenthesis means times. So we're multiplying each of these terms inside of these parentheses by 4. So first we start with 4 times n. Well, 4 times n is just 4n. Then we do 4 times 5, which is 20. We have an addition sign in the parentheses, so we put an addition sign in between them, 4n plus 20. So we're basically just simplifying the expression. Okay. Here we have a 12 times 2y, so we can combine our 12 times our 2, which gives us 24. And then we just keep our y. 12 times 2y is 24y. Then we do 12 times 3, which is 36. We have a subtraction sign in between, so we have a subtraction sign in between below. 24y minus 36 is our simplified expression. I want you to pause the video and try number 5 on your own. All right, so right now, if you are listening to me, you should already have this answer down here, or your attempt at what you think the answer might be. So we take 9 times 6, 54. 9 times x, 9x. There's an add in between them, so we're adding them. And then 9 times 2, 18. There's a plus sign in between them, so we put a plus sign in between them down here. All right, now this is not a simplified expression, okay, because we have some like terms that we have not combined yet. So we need to combine our 54 and our 18, and when we combine 54 and 18, we get 72. 9x we cannot combine with them because they are not like terms. One has an x, one does not. So our simplified expression is 9x plus 72. Okay, and that's how we kind of solve these problems when we have a number outside the parentheses. Now we're going to solve some problems where we have a variable outside the parentheses. Okay, so if we have an x times an x, well, x times x is x squared. X times 5 is 5x. Add in between, so we add in between down here. X squared plus 5x is our simplified. Now we cannot combine these because they have to have the same letter, which they do, but it also has to be the same exponent. This one does not have an exponent. This one has an exponent of 2, so we cannot combine these. Okay. 2x is being distributed. So we have 2x times 2x. We can do our 2 times 2, which is 4, and then our x times x, x squared. Then we have 2x times 10. We can do our 2 times 10 is 20. X, 2x times 10 is 20x. We are adding them, so we're adding them below. All right, and that is how we simplify expressions using the distributive property. Here we have a word problem type of situation. So we have Jose is X years old. His brother Felipe is 2 years older than Jose. Their aunt Maria is 3 times as old as Felipe. Write and simplify an expression that represents Maria's age in years. Okay. So I like to have things as a visual. So let's just list out each person and what their expression is for their age. So Jose is X years old. Felipe is 2 years older than Jose. So he's 2 years older than X. Okay, so we'd add 2 to whatever Jose's is. So Felipe is going to be X plus 2. Okay, because he's going to be whatever Jose is plus 2 more years because he's 2 years older. Now Maria is 5 times Felipe's age, and Felipe is X plus 2. Okay, but we can't do it this way because let's say Jose is 5, meaning Felipe would be 7. And if we said Jose was 5, we'd have 5 times 5, which is 25, plus 2 is 27. Okay, now Maria is supposed to be 5 times Felipe's age, and 5 times 7 is not 27. Okay? So when we do 5 times Felipe's age, we have to put Felipe's age into parentheses so that we're multiplying the whole thing by 5, not just the x, not just Jose's age. Okay, and then adding 2. So Felipe's age has to be in parentheses. And here we have a distributive problem where we can distribute that 5 to each of these terms in order to simplify it. So we'd have 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 2 is 10. We are adding 5x plus 10. So now if we're saying Jose is 5, so x is 5, we'd have 5 times 5 is 25, plus 10 is 35. Okay, this meaning that Maria's age is 35. Felipe's age was 7, that is 5 times Felipe's age. Okay, so this would be our simplified expression in years. Okay, now I just made these numbers up, so that's not answering the question. That was just to prove to you that we need to put that into parentheses. Okay, so our only answer is really going to be 5x plus 10 years. All right, and that is all for today. I know that the distributive property can be kind of confusing. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go try and find another video that might explain it in a different way for if you're still struggling. You could watch that to hopefully clarify. But just hang on, let me go try to find a video and then I'll show you the directions on how to get to that below. Okay, so I did have one in there from last year. So I'm going to write the directions to another video down here. So if you understand this makes sense, you can absolutely 100% move on to your homework sheet. However, if this is not making sense for you, I'm going to give you the directions to watch another distributive property video that might be a little bit more in depth, which might explain it a different way, and hopefully can make it click for you a little bit better. Okay, so you're going to go on to Schoology. You don't have to write this down, just you would follow these steps. You'd go to Math 6-7. You would go to Chapter 3. You would go to Distributive, Property and Factoring folder. I believe it is lime green. Okay, and then in there is a folder that is called Extra Practice / videos. And then there's a distributed property video in that folder. Okay, so if this is something that we don't feel like we can do independently yet, that's okay. This video is pretty short, so you will have more class time to go into Schoology in order to watch the second video to hopefully have that explained it a little bit more in depth for you.